Ornithomimids. Welcome guys once again to the channel Ranking with Dinosaurs, where you rank, you guessed it, dinosaurs. And today we're going to be ranking a very peculiar group because they are very much ostracized by most dinosaur enjoyers. And not only dinosaur enjoyers, but media, figure companies as well, toys, because these guys get shafted every single time. And I don't know why, because they are awesome. I hope you think they're awesome. And if not, with the following tier list, I hope I change your mind. Because Ornithomimids, while some of them look similar, because they don't have, the biggest heads or the biggest teeth, or they're not, awesome looking, doesn't mean they're not cool. So we're going to be changing your mind today, enlightening you, as to say so. So, without further ado, we're going to be starting with Ornithomimus. So, we could be starting with the namesake of the group, actually, Ornithomimus. This guy's from late Cretaceous, North America. And, this guy is iconic, the basic Ornithomimid, body plan, we can see it in Ornithomimus, basically. So, this guy was a bipedal theropod. Yes, these guys were theropods. And they were, very fast. That's the main Ornithomimid thing. They were very fast, very swift, and they were covered in feathers. Yes, they were covered in feathers. We do have some fossil evidence, but, mostly all theropods did have feathers. It is much easier to, keep ancestral traits than to gain them. Gain them independently. So, these guys were most definitely feathered. There are a couple species of Ornithomimus, Velox and Edmonticus, something like that. Edmonticus. And you could probably guess where that one is from. But yeah, there were a lot of, Ornithomimid species that had been named, but, they were assigned to other genuses too. These guys had pretty large brains and pretty large eyes too, and which, didn't make them necessarily smart, but it did aid them in, spawning predators with their big eyes and, being able to, probably run really fast and, not just stumble. Because, again, they were able to run this fast because they had pretty long legs, and they had, even though this guy is like a 370-pound creature, 12 feet long, and they still had hollow bones, so they were much more lighter than they appeared from the outside. But yes, they did have also some large, well, not large, but long, slender arms too, with respective 3 claws. But yeah, this is Ornithomimus, and I think we're gonna start with a pretty generous, I think a B tier. I think B tier is fair for now. GALLIMIMUS. Now, this is late Maastrichtian Mongolia, and right at the gate, you can see that a lot of North American and Asian dinosaurs, or fauna in general, is very similar. And this is because, at some point there was that when they two continents were interconnected, there was an exchange of, animals. That's why you see Tyrannosaurs, Hadrosaurs too, and in this case, Ornithomimids, and Ankylosaurs as well. You can see very similar fauna. But for GALLIMIMUS, who hasn't heard of GALLIMIMUS? This is probably the most, well, not recently now, but previous to another one that we're going to be talking later, it was probably the face of Ornithomimids. This is the largest Ornithomimid, emphasis on Ornithomimid, and because this guy is huge, it's also the most well understood as well from this group. This guy was 20 feet long already, and 6'3" at the hip. So that's what that is a good measure of how big it is, because in the original, for example, Jurassic Park, where GALLIMIMUS is most notably known for, GALLIMIMUS are huge in that in the movie. And when I was little, I thought, these guys, they probably made them huge, so because, big and scary and cool. But no, these guys were huge, actually. Again, Feathered, they were probably mostly feathered. I don't know how much feathered because, again, they were big. So, definitely some feathering they had. They could, again, very fast. These were cursorial animals. Probably ran about 35 miles per hour, I think. That's like the estimate right now, which is, very fast for a, 500 kilogram animal. Pretty big. These guys were omnivorous as well in diet. They probably supplemented their, mostly foraging, herbivorous diet with some, lizards, little mammals that they could find while they were eating, fruits, nuts, anything they could find. But yeah, Gallimimus, awesome animal. I love Gallimimus. When I show you like my dinosaur figures, sometimes I'm like, boy, I wish I had a Gallimimus figure. Somebody please make one, an accurate one, because I know there's a lot of Jurassic Park ones, the naked ones, which they're fine for the movie, but I want a scientific one. So Gallimimus, I mean, I love it. Do you not love Gallimimus? It's S tier. Struthiomimus. Now, this is again late Cretaceous, North America. This is actually one of the most common and smaller dinosaurs from the dinosaur provincial park. And again, this is North America. So I don't think it lived. Well, it lived kind of overlapped a little bit with Ornithomimus, but yes, it's a guy which much smaller. Which this always I don't know if you thought about it until I'm about to say it. But Struthiomimus is the ostrich mimic, but the ostriches are much bigger than Struthiomimus, for example. But Ornithomimus is called the bird mimic, and it's not the smallest one. And Gallimimus is the chicken mimic, which is pretty small compared to Gallimimus. So I feel like they should have changed the names or something, because honestly the sizes don't actually match the name. But yeah, Struthiomimus is the ostrich mimic. This guy only differs from Ornithomimus and Gallimimus in some proportions and some anatomical differences. It's still got the beak with the keratinous beak, which probably again aided in their herbivorous or omnivorous diet sometimes. Struthiomimus also, one of the fun things that I discovered as well is that their claws are often compared to sloth claws by the way they're shaped and the actual curvature, like how they were curved. I believe they actually resemble sloths for some reason. I don't know why. But yes, Struthiomimus, I mean, it's not crazy. I'm not crazy about Struthiomimus. They probably had those beautiful pennaceous feathers on their arms as well. Yeah, so fully feathered animal. This is where it gets a little repetitive. I will say that. So, I mean, Struthiomimus, do I like it more than Ornithomimus? I think they're on the same level, actually, yeah. Pelecanimimus. So, we're going to be actually going back in time to the early Cretaceous, this time in Las Ollas in Spain. So, this is Spain, a European ornithomimid, not the ornithomimid, but an ornithomimosaurian. So, a little bit lower on the tree, not as much on the branches. But yes, this guy is notable because is actually the ornithomimosaur with the most amount of teeth, because most of them later are toothless, but this guy had the most amount of teeth, unserrated teeth as well. Yeah, so no serration for those bad boys. The actual fossil of Pelecanimimus is actually really well preserved, like insanely well preserved. We got obviously some feather impressions. We got a little skin or keratinous crest actually in the back of the head, like a little triangular little thing. It looks like a little hat. I love it for that already. It's pretty cool. It did have a gular pouch, which it's small, but it's actually what gave it its name, which you can probably guess, Pelecanimimus. It's the mimic of what? The pelican mimic. Yes, pretty easy, pretty self-explanatory in that part. But yes, we actually have some hyoid apparatus as well. Those are the tongue bones that are located on the neck. And it did live with another animal, which I've talked about before too, my Carcharodontosaur video. If you haven't seen it, check it out. A concavenator, actually. So that's pretty awesome. It was probably the main predator on the area. So probably ate some Pelecanimimus. And some recent studies suggest that it might have been capable of flight. So that's pretty awesome. I would love to see a documentary showcasing this more of this formation with conch and Pelecanimimus. Pretty awesome. I gotta say, I love this little guy. I'm gonna put an A tier. BEISHANLONG. So gonna be staying in the early Cretaceous actually, but this time we are in China. So very important. We're in Asia, and usually dinosaurs, especially with time, get much bigger. But as we can see right now, BEISHANLONG is actually the second largest Ornithomimosaurian discovered, behind a certain one that you might know the name of, but don't spoil it. For those who don't know, don't skip the video. We're still talking about BEISHANLONG. But this guy is huge. We got 3 skeletons found, all in the same formation, the Xiaogu formation. Again, this is China. And there was some histological studies done on the actual fossils. And this guy is 23 feet long, pretty huge, 630 kilograms, pretty huge, more than half a ton. And still, they found out that this guy was still not a fully grown animal. That is scary. So, I don't know exactly what they said, like how much growing he still had in him, was left. But, to be not a fully grown animal and be that big, the fully grown one must have been huge too. So, I don't know if it could rival the biggest Ornithomimosaurian, but it would still be bigger than this. So, BEISHANLONG, pretty awesome. This guy was also pretty robust. And, did have the long arms and the long legs. So it's probably still, pretty, not fastish, but, a little bit probably slower than Gallimimus, but, still pretty fast compared to, their predators, their natural predators. So when I think of BEISHANLONG, I basically think of, a deluxe version of an Ornithomimid, or a light version of the next animal that we're going to be talking. So, BEISHANLONG. I really like it. I just found out about this guy, and I'm going to put it in A tier. DEINOCHEIRUS. Now, come at the end of the tier list. I know this is quite of a short one, but, if we're going to end, we're going to end it big. And you can't talk about big without mentioning DEINOCHEIRUS. So, DEINOCHEIRUS is from the late Cretaceous in the Namek Formation in Mongolia. We've talked about this formation before. You got the likes of, huge sauropods like Namektosauros, big theropods like Tarabosaurus, and some big hadrosaurs like Barsboldia, and Kylosaurs like Tarkia, all of that. But when it comes to weirdness, DEINOCHEIRUS takes the cake. When it was first discovered, it was actually known only from a set of disarticulated, huge arms. They thought these were some carnivorous actual spawn of the devil, because those arms were huge. They were like, oh my god, those animals that live with this creature, poor guys. They were probably getting pulverized by this thing. If this were what the actual arms look like, I don't want to know what the rest of the body looks. But it was a mystery for a long time. I think almost 40 years. But in 2014, there was 2 specimens that were described, and they actually shed light to this animal. And this is what it looked like. So DEINOCHEIRUS is an Ornithomimosaurian, again, an Ornithomimid. But these huge arms are one of the most distinct features in an array of different weird ass characteristics. We got a big ass humpback, because why not? This guy was probably feathered as well. I don't know, although I don't know how much feathered. And this guy is pink, so it actually resembles a flamingo. I actually bought it because of that. Pretty, it's pretty awesome looking, I gotta say, and pretty distinct. But we did find that it had a pig-style-like vertebrae right here, which is the tail that supported a tail fan, which are the feathers spread like this, like a fan. So it was most likely feathered, but we don't know how much. I actually like this amount. Looks pretty nice. The prehistoric planet one is actually very much a lot of feathers. So, we still don't know 100% yet. But, this is a 36 feet long animal, 7 tons. Nobody is messing with this thing. This thing is huge, massive. Like, this sizes only are reached by, megatheropods or like exceptionally large hadrosaurs. Not the Ornithomimosauria. This guy is the exception. DEINOCHEIRUS is freaking awesome. You also have this like wide bill that looks like a spoon also, and a deep lower jaw, which actually resembles a hadrosaur. But, pretty bulky, and even still being this big, it still had hollow bones, which, saved it a lot of weight. But yes, DEINOCHEIRUS, nobody messed with this guy. This guy is awesome. There is a reason why it became so popular after it was described. So, is there any other place where DEINOCHEIRUS isn't that is not S tier? And that is the Ornithomimosauria tier list. I think I put Ornithomimid on the title. I'm sorry. But yes, this is the tier list. Guys, let me know, please. Did I change your mind about Ornithomimosaurs or Ornithomimids? Because these guys are awesome in their own ways. I know they don't have the flashiest things, unless you're talking about DEINOCHEIRUS. But they are awesome in their own way. All dinosaurs are cool. That is the rule of this channel. We're going to give every dinosaur a fair chance. Please, guys, let me know in the comments which is your favorite one. How would you make your own tier list? Please, like the video. Helps a lot. Subscribe. It helps even more. And I'll see you in the next video, guys. Thank you so much.